Good morning, everyone. Hi. Hi, Desiree. Hello, hello. We're gonna wait just maybe one more minute just to get everyone in and yeah, just ready. But if you are here, welcome. Good to see all of you. And if you'd like to ritualize this space, you can light a candle, or if you're working with some plant ally or an incense, you can also grab it. Make yourself comfortable. Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, welcome, good morning. I'm so honored and grateful to be here with you all this morning. And it's interesting, my teachers always say that time and space are alive. So I thank you for sharing and creating it with me. Now, before we really dive in and begin with this beautiful topic, I would love to invite you to just close your eyes and take one nice deep cleansing breath in through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. Just fully arriving to this space. Allowing yourself to be thankful and grateful for this time that you've created for yourself. And I invite you to imagine that we're all in a circle. And take a moment to fully arrive. And putting one hand on your heart and taking a moment to feel gratitude for this heartbeat. Giving a little thanks to life. And when we're ready, we can open our eyes and back into this communal space. So my name is Mariana Bandera Marin. I'm an anthropologist, I'm an archaeologist, and I've been fascinating in studying rites of passage from all over the world. Right now I'm currently undergoing an initiation myself of curanderismo, and I just got back from a really intensive study with my Mayan teachers diving into the world of cacao in this last year. And so it's been a long and windy path of unknowing and learning about myself and others in such a beautiful way. But this specific body of work our natural rites of passage has been a living, breathing creation. It's taken a lot of self study, it's a lot of inquiries, traveling, and listening to maestros. So, this material that I'll be sharing um, is really sacred, but it'll be specifically from Mexico and Guatemala. And before we dive into this plática, I would love to open up this space for us, since we have a smaller, intimate group, to perhaps introduce ourselves really quickly, get to know ourselves, maybe our name, our relationship to our own rites of passages or cycles or seasons within ourselves or changes, potentially what brings us here, and anything that you'd like the group to know about you. If there is um, a brave soul that wants to start, please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm walking around trying to give my children food here on the East Coast, but my name is Desiree. Those two children are 11 and 13 girls about to start their own journey. I am going through perimenopause and taking care of two aging and sick parents. I have encountered one of Marina's I just said your name wrong, and I apologize. Classes before, and I was actually pulling out my rites of passage notebook from the last time we had classes. I've been journaling and keeping track with my own, and so I'm here to continue that, but also to facilitate um, the ongoing evolution of how death is helping me live, but also encouraging me to talk to others about the most uncomfortable but most comfortable things in the world. Um, so I appreciate where this started with me and you a long time ago, but mostly I am here because I didn't know how to show up for myself today. And then this just happened to be happening today. So I was like, I'm there. So thank you for this. And thank y'all all for showing up. But mostly, um, we live in a very assaulting environment, and this is a place to not feel so much of that. And these open, beautiful conversations and places still hold to me these beautiful sacrednesses of understanding each other in every possible way, culturally and as human beings here together. So that's me, Desiree, and thanks for this time together.
Thank you, Desiree. Welcome. I'm going to read Denise. Hi, Denise. Good morning. Sorry I can't come off mute because I'm having sleeping people here and don't want to wake them up. Oh, Alaska time, yes. I'm Denise. I have a degree in anthropology and work as a grants accountant for human rights organization. I'm particularly interested in the work of Victor Turner and liminality. My husband just died at the age of 47 unexpectedly. I'm trying to explore some of the meaning of all this. Denise, I'm really sorry for your loss. And I feel like I can speak for the whole group. Our hearts really go out to you. And we're lucky to have you here and hold space for you and your transitions. Anyone else would like to unmute themselves? We have a couple of more minutes to really get to know each other for this time.
I can unmute. My name is Lee, and I have been getting your emails. I don't know when they started. And I was just intrigued by the topic because I feel there are different deaths happening, not necessarily a physical person's death. So that, though my mom is aging, and that for me, that's part of what's going on, but just different phases of my life seem to be coming to an end, and something new is starting. And I'm not quite sure which way it's going to go, but it just feels like it's a big process. And so wanting to be mindful about those stages and really be present with all the changes that are happening and to go through them. So that's why I'm here tonight. And it's so nice to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Welcome.
Hi. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, I'm KK. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm here because I'm curious. So, thank you for having this space.
Hi, I'm Birdie. I'm in Minneapolis, and yeah, curious. I also work in hospice and in bereavement, and so I thought it'd be helpful in that realm as well. So just excited or looking forward to spending time with you.
Welcome, KK. Welcome, Birdie. Thank you for being here. For those of you who have just come on, we're just taking a little time to ground ourselves and introduce ourselves. I think we have about 2 more minutes. I don't want to take too much of y'all's morning, but we can still say hello.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Yes, hi, my name is Aida and I'm in Guatemala. And is there a question or some? I just logged on, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it's just like, what would you like the group to know about you? What brought you here? What's your own relationship to your own natural cycles that are happening? Just a little intro.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm traveling down to South America from Mexico. And how am I connected to my own cycles? I think I'm paying way more attention to my own natural cycles, my moon cycles, my age as I'm getting older and what that means to me. Just a lot of much more awareness, and then especially being here next to these beautiful mountains, just seeing how my cycles are reflected in nature is really powerful. And thank you for having me. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute because there's a lot of dogs here in the background. Thank you.
Aida. Are you in Lake Atitlan by any chance?
No, I am. I was there. I am now in Samok Champey.
Oh, okay. Great. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Mickey. I am also in Minneapolis. So hi, Birdie. We're in the same neck of the woods. I feel like I'm kind of in between life stages in a way. I just moved to a house and have just been feeling like I'm trying to move into the next phase, but I'm still kind of like, it's not just like a clean cut straight to the next phase. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out how to thrive in the in between, and having a few deaths in the past year in my family. Cycles have just been really on my mind, and having aging parents, and right now in Minneapolis it's like the dead of winter, and just seeing how there's so many different cycles circling at the same time. So I'm just really curious to hear more about everyone else's perspectives. That's all.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for also bringing in this a conversation of like the liminal spaces in between, because that's something that will, it's not very clear cut, and so that, I mean, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but that's important to just take note of, and thank you for bringing it into this space as well. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves? I think we might have gotten everyone here. Okay, if we feel complete, then we can go ahead and start. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see okay? Beautiful. All right, let me just set up here really quickly. Beautiful. Okay. So really, I wanted to bring us together and really share more of a synopsis of what I've currently been learning. And we're going to be talking about different cultures, different cultural perspectives, different cosmo-visions, but these are not necessarily to be imitated or copied, but rather to give us a blueprint and allow us to imagine something for ourselves. So that's really the invitation for today, to reimagine and really feel what you're being called to initiate in your life. Because these, what Mickey was saying was really what resonated was like wherever we're in this like liminal space between transitions, what are we being called to initiate, and how are we going to really walk into the next phase of our life, this next transition, this next transmutation, and honoring the many little deaths that happen along the way. And so in the first question is, why even do this at all? And we all have these transformations in life. Every single minute, we're always transforming, we're always evolving. So I invite you, before we even begin, to think of or remember this huge transformative period in your life that has forever marked you. It can be, if we have wombs, like the first menstruation period, that has completely altered. When we have our children, specifically as women as well, when we leave our houses, our parents' houses, these are all transformative marking periods of our life. Now imagine these periods actually being celebrated or marked or taking it into process. And these are what rituals in essence are. It's a moment to stop time and to really reflect. We're bringing in intention as we walk through life and reconnecting to us, ourselves, our sacred selves, to spirit or to God. And I like to think of rituals as almost like setting up a compass. When people are lost in the desert or the woods without any direction, they actually tend to walk in circles. And so rituals, think of them as you're setting up a compass and realigning your intention for what you're initiating into the next phase. So this need for ritual is actually crucial for us as humans to walk in our path that we've set for ourselves. And we see this cross-culturally, especially in rites of passages. In anthropology, rites of passages have three main phases. It's the separation, the liminal, and the incorporation. And what this means is that we actually separate ourselves from our previous self, and we go through a process of becoming or visioning or training, and then we integrate that new identity or characteristic to the self. The most easiest, Western example is when people join the military, for example. In modern society, they cut their hair, they go through training, and then they incorporate the new values to the self that actually forever alters their perspective of life. For me personally, I think of a rite of passage like life's temazcal. this is a quick background in the Mexica Seca culture specifically, and pretty much all of the Anahuac, which is from Alaska all the way to Nicaragua, that's the Anahuac, we see evidence of temazcales. And we see ceremonial inipis, for example, in the Dakotas, or the sipapus in the Southwest. These are sacred portals to go back to the womb of Mother Nature, to heal and to be reborn. The temazcal can be built from adobe or brick, and sometimes it's just wires and cloth. And you see evidence of this from Mexico to Guatemala, and there's various different types and for different purposes as well. But it has to be completely dark from within to represent a womb. There are sacred basalt rocks that are called abuelitas that are put in a sacred fire for hours to burn, so that when they come in contact in water in the temazcal, vapor rises and it emulates a womb. So this initial part in the preparation or intention of coming into the sacred place, it's a separation from a previous dogma or thoughts or events or even patterns in life that one might have. And actually, before you enter the temazcal, we do a salutation. You kneel down and you put your head on the earth and ask for permission to enter for all of your relations. Because when we're separating from something, when there's a little death within us, and sometimes it comes in a healing pattern or a healing way, we're actually healing for all of us, for all of our relations. So when you go through this process of healing, in a temazcal, an elder who has been initiated to perform these ceremonies guides people through this ritual. And one of the main questions that is often asked in a temazcal is to envision, what do you want to integrate into your life? What does Mariana look like when they leave here? What is born and what is being let go? What are you shedding here? What are you offering your sweat to? And with that visualization and intention, we're actually preparing for the next steps of life and the intention in that rebirth. And it can be as simple as like, I want to walk with unconditional love when I get out of here, or I want to envision myself with more patience. I will be liberated from this story that I have. I'm going through this transition in my life, and I'm offering my sweat to allow myself to be transmuted and grow from this. There's been so many different conversations in the temazcal that I've heard, that when people walk out, it's such a drastic and like very subconscious change that happens. But this is the way of actually activating our consciousness. And I think about this phase a lot. It's the in-between phase. It's the initiation phase. It's like when a butterfly or even a chickling, is like struggling to get out of a shell. In a temazcal, it's kind of in the same way. You're sweating, you're uncomfortable, it takes a lot of hours sometimes sitting uncomfortable in an uncomfortable position. You're sometimes with like 30 to 40 people in one little womb, and you're talking and sharing and crying, but it's the struggle that's associated with growth. And of course, I don't mean struggle in the sense where like there's struggle that's associated with growth, and that's struggle that's associated with trauma. We're actually specifically talking about struggle that's associated with growth, just to be very, very clear about that. And as one exits this sacred place, this temazcal, which is the womb of earth, we're actually being reborn into the energy that we are invoking. And literally, you're shedding skin like a snake. You put like really cold water on yourself, and you're rubbing against all of your skin, and you see skin fall. But that's the reincarnation process that happens as well. And what I'm really getting at is that, these are moments of deep reflection and transformation. And that is what ceremony and rituals essentially are: a moment to stop time, look inward deeply to the self, connect with spirit, and ask for guidance on the way. And I think, we don't actually have to go through Temazcal to really understand what these phases feel like within our lives. So in anthropology, we see these rituals actually serving as a function collectively as well as individually. And there's a term called collective effervescence, which is a psychological response that actually happens when groups perform rituals together. Regardless of their movements, their heart rate syncs up. And this is huge. And it'll come up again when we approach the rites of passage for death and collective rituals. But it's good to know because for all of you, since there's an invitation with this conversation, there would be individual rituals that you do for yourself, with yourself. But if your intention is actually to unify, then containing something with family, with friends, with loved ones will be very special, knowing this, that our heart rate actually is connected. So for this plática, I also wanted to share that these rituals and ceremonies have markers that are crucial to specific transition within our natural human development. Like my teachers say, we're spiritual beings living an earthly experience. So each phase of our life has a natural metamorphosis, a new energy that we're invoking and stepping into. And in nature, we see this a lot. There's a difference between, seedlings in rows and an ancient forest, right? And we too carry this information within ourselves. So it's important to know what natural phase we might be in. And if we're actually shifting within that natural phase and that liminal space between them, that's when a lot of, these deaths are, my friend who's an astrologer, she says, oh, you're in your Saturn return. And, but that's the liminality between the two phases, right? And so it's just important to know where we're at. So before we're diving into these phases, it's also important to know that the passing of years specifically isn't necessarily synonymous with the qualitative experience of life. Knowing how to live has actually nothing to do with age or years. It's actually achieved by learning from every situation in life, by actually turning our terrestrial experience into wisdom. And our ancient elders really knew this and talked about it. And I think we do too if we really remember. So for our time today, we'll go over the constructs of natural life phases of cultures of the Mexica Azteca, the Greeks, and the Andeans. And one of my beautiful teachers, Roberto Perez, always says this: experience is not what happens to a person, but what the person does with what happens to them. And this is key. This is where wisdom comes from. And it's a key to understand because in ancient cultures, a person who learned to live at the end of their life, to become a nurturing person for their grandchildren, for the children of that community. And it's not necessarily like legacy isn't necessarily like, your direct bloodline, but wisdom is actually transmuted within like a larger demographic, a larger generation. So that's also important to know. But in ancient times, people really prioritized ending their life with gratitude and to see the past with love and to transmit that love to others. And we see this a lot with elders, right? You can see the difference between someone who is really bitter with life, complaining, not processing, not listening, versus someone who is abundant with their time, with their love, and transmitting their lessons and words of wisdom. So it's also, these moments actually mark that that initiation or that compass towards being an elder. So in the Mexica Azteca culture, it's said that we have a fire that burns inside of us. Our spirit that leads the way. In the Mexica culture, a woman's fire, it's called the tenamashli. It's the one that burns in her kitchen at the age of 30, and it symbolized the nutrition that she offered to her people. It was a fire that was actually continuously burning, and it could start many fires with her embers. They could start fires for her tlemai, which I'm showing you a picture of on the right. It can start big ceremonial fires, which is more of a masculine fire energy, but the men actually go into the kitchen and get the embers from the women's fire to start the ceremonial fires. So it's a fire that's nourished and is constantly nourishing. So at the age of 52, everything changes. A new fire is born for the beginning of the initiation to Totsi, or to Abuela. And this is at the half point of a woman's life for the Mexicastecas. The fire that was in her kitchen is put out, but before that, she actually burns her ceremonial clothing and everything that no longer serves her. My teacher, Abuela Chicavaso, she says that we can, at 52, we can even, have new husbands or move. Everything was allowed. And a ceremony is actually done to initiate her into Totsi, or grandmother to the community. One who is wise, who can lead ceremonies, especially temazcals, who can be present for menstruation, rites of passages in the community. One who's actually given that status of grandmother for her entire community, not just her initial community. And you don't actually have to have children in order to be a grandmother, which I think is always such a beautiful thing to be reminded of. Now, in a lot of cultures, we also see this interesting dichotomy between the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And one that I wanted to share was actually what I found in the ancient Greek mythology, and it was the role of the Moirai. And their role was to ensure that every being, mortal and divine, actually lived their destiny that was assigned to them by the laws of the universe. They were supposed to appear 3 nights after a child's birth to determine the course of its life. And they also represent the 3 divisions of the moon. And, as women, or as people who have wombs, we have always been linked to the cycles of lunar calendars, of the full moon, the dark moon, the crescent. It also has a representation of our own lives. And we see this cross-culturally as well. Sorry, I just looked at the chat. Yeah, I love Totsi. And sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with the chat, just in case I've missed so much in the past, so I didn't want to miss anything. But yeah, it's okay. Audience window is okay for now. So the Moirai themselves are traditionally depicted as a young girl, or the spinner or the thread of life, an older woman who's the measurer, and an elderly woman who's the cutter, representing the birth, the active life, and death. And I don't know if you guys have seen Hercules, but the Moirai is actually depicted in that movie. I think they're all older. However, in ancient Greek mythology, it would have been a younger woman, a maiden, and a crone. And this specific representation of these phases of life are also found in Celtic traditions that are called the Morrigan. And right now, with this neo-paganism thing that's happening, there's the triple goddess as well. In the Mayan, this is called Ixchel, and it's the Mayan energy of the woman, of love, of gestation, of waters, of textile work, the moon, and the medicine. And I wanted to really emphasize this because Ixchel also has this symbol of the waning moon, the weaving, and the loom. And the Mayan represented her as a young woman, as a symbol of the waxing moon, an older woman who's the symbol of the waning moon, who's weaving this loom, and sometimes an elderly woman who's pouring a jug of water into the earth. Which, this is interesting because if we think about it, I was just talking to one of my friends about this, who is going in between the transition period between, you know, this maiden and mother and crone. And she said there's something about it where, you know, there's actual phases in between these as well. And one that she was sharing was like Diane the Huntress, for in between the younger woman and like the maiden and the older woman. And then there's another one who I can't remember what it is, but in the next natural rites of passage talk, I'll actually develop this a little bit more because this was just a couple hours ago. But it's like this energy of the woman, but in between the phases of mother and crone as well. Because in mother, it's almost like you're giving, you're like nourishing, and you have to be nourished. But at the same time, before you go into crone, which in this representation of this older woman who's, you know, who's pouring a jug of water onto the earth, all she has is this gift of giving. You know, it's nourishment for others, for earth, for its wisdom that's being transcended onto earth and all of the children. But there's a liminal space between these two phases. And I can't remember what she was saying, but it made so much sense to me that you're now like, there's like a time where you're like reaping all of the benefits. And it's like you're nourishing, you know, your children are grown or whatever, and you're really just living in the abundance between the two phases. You're not ready to like be grandmother and completely give, but you're almost like your cup is being filled up again so that you have something to give in abundance. And so there's actually, I'll probably develop it a little bit more in this talk, but there's just know that there's an invitation to understand and to also imagine for ourselves the liminality between these phases of our lives. And another one was before you become, you know, in between maiden and mother, there's this, what I was saying, this Diane the Huntress, or, you know, I'm reading the women who run with the wolves, and it's this archetype as well of this independence. Like, I'm not necessarily, you know, giving everything to my children, because motherhood in and of itself is like giving and giving and giving, and motherhood can be various ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be with children specifically. It could be with projects. It could be with a dedication to a seed or a manifestation of a dream. But whenever we're in that liminality, sometimes it's fighting for our independence, and it's knowing that we have this like rawness of natural femininity within us. That's also really interesting to uncover. But just know that within every single one of these phases, there's an in-between, and we can also reimagine, you know, these quote-unquote archetypes that we're embodying that can actually help us integrate what we're going through as these natural life phases progress. So these phases of our natural cycles have, as you see, various explanations in multiple cultures. There are several cultures that explain our natural phases in cycles of 7, for example, from ancient Greece to the Quechua from Peru. And I wanted to share one that I was taught by my teacher, Roberto Perez. And note here that we have actually 2 fires. One is the transformation fire, and one is the affirmation fire. And I'll explain in just a second. This will be a little bit more clear. But this sacred symbol it comes from the Andean calendar, It's the chacana, which is also the agricultural calendar. And you'll see this a lot in, if you see pendants or jewelry, they will have the chacana onto them. It's a very, very sacred symbol. But you see this in a lot of earth-based cultures. Cycles of life, of our own life, mirror the cycles of seasons because we're nature as well. Just as trees have cycles, we do too. Just as rivers have cycles, we also have cycles. So it's also important to know that and recognize it and feel it. So each cycle has challenges that mirror from the beginning of life to the end and have spiritual growth that's associated to that phase and an element that can help us along the way. So now we can go through this as a whole other lecture of the model of 7 cycles, because each one of them also has a fear associated to it, a challenge that's associated. But for our time here, I just wanted to share because it would be interesting for you to identify yourself within an age group. And the ones that I really wanted to point out for our time are 7 to 14, 28 to 42, 49 to 56, and 70 to 48, because these are the phases of extreme transformation, of extreme metamorphosis. And if you see it on the chacana, these are actually the phases that are at the extremes of the cross or the chacana. So let's dive into 7 to 14. This is such an important phase. This is the rite of passage into adulthood. And it's important to know that transitioning into adulthood always requires wisdom, an all-encompassing wisdom. In previous cultures and societies, it was understood that if I only focus on myself, on me, I might hurt you. If I focus only on you, then I might hurt myself. And if I only think of my family, I might not serve my community. And if I act only on behalf of my people, then I might not have the opportunity to connect and honor the land, which is my home. So a jump to a meaningful adulthood actually parallels that with the jump of humanity collectively needs to make. And it's important during this time to share emotions and form a social consciousness to these little seedlings, to help others and to learn something divine from the elders. So this is why during this time we see a lot of evidence of, women's circles cross-culturally and wisdom walks for men specifically to start to form that social awareness and social consciousness. A big reflection that we start to have in this phase is, why am I? Just in general, an existential question. What gifts and talents do I have to offer to others? ¿Cuáles son mis dones? What am I good at? What is my heart telling me that I need to be doing in order to serve others and myself? And what is my place in this world? Again, everything is around social awareness and almost like redefining social constructs as well. So 28 to 42, this is the phase where the nourishment fires begin. To focus on what is nourishing my mind, my body, and my spirit. And it's a time where actually solitude is needed to have clarity from within, to have moments to connect with our own spirit that actually guides us. This like sacred cave within us, the sacred sun within us. And to practice gratitude for life and to listen to others and to learn. And a big reflection we have with this is, well, how do I nourish myself? And how am I nourishing others? Again, we see this also paralleled with the Mexica culture as we're beginning the nourishment fire for a woman. You know, how is it being nourished constantly so that I can nourish others as well? And an element is for 28 to 42 is the sun. Solar energy is so important during this phase. Again, I in one of my newsletters, I wrote out Roberto Perez's Soledad explanation, where it's not necessarily, you know, solitude doesn't necessarily mean to be alone and to be confined, right? Solitude actually means to find the solar energy within myself. And so this is, you know, interestingly, this is the time where a lot of us are getting ready to become parents, to make these big life choices as well. But if we're not necessarily opening up to our own solar energy or our own little voice within ourselves, it could be diminished really easily. And I'm sorry, I don't think I realized 7 to 14 is also fires, for as an element that's going to be really, really important for you know, our children who are going through this life transition as well, from 7 to 14. You think about this as, like, for example, campfires, you know, like sitting around and sharing stories. That's something that can be easily associated with this phase. So 28 to 42, solar energy. Now 49 to 56, these are the big transformative years. These are the midlife crisis years. If you're not aligned with your compass, you know, these are the years where life actually goes through all of, you know, your closet, your drawers, and takes everything out and throws it all and tells you to rearrange them and throw out what's not needed. You know, it's the year of the new fire again, the Totsi fire, the initiation into a more of a wise community member. These are the years of knowing that actually security comes from within. And it's also the years to, again, transmit and participate and contribute so that things get better in our world. So a big reflective question here are, what are the changes I want to see in my life and the world? And this is really interesting because I'm seeing a lot of people who are you know, becoming community members during this age, who are organizing actual, like, not manifestations, but like, or riots, como se dice? Marches during this time, who are getting out and voting even more and like inspiring other people to vote. It's the changes that need to happen, and they happen internally first and externally second. So an element that we have for these years is air. So we'll see a lot of meditation practices actually start to happen during this time. You know, I'm seeing this a lot with my parents who are in this transition phase. They're like, oh, what is breath work? What is this thing that, oh, I have to speak now, you know? It's this communion with air. Again, transmitting wisdom, that's an air quality. You know, my mother, she's now starting to sing, and that's also an air quality. It's getting all of this like exhalation out into the world. And for example, in curanderismo or in the Mexica culture, we say that air is like the first thing that changes things, you know? It's the new air that comes in and fertilizes seeds. Without air, there's no movement. And so this is something that, you know, really helps us with the transition of this specific phase. Now, finally, we have 70 to 84. And these are the years that fear of loss might come into this phase. But I think a matured spirit will understand that death is only a transformation, a transmutation. It's just a change. It's just this, you know, again, we're spiritual beings living an earthly experience. This incarnation, this beautiful flesh sack that I have isn't necessarily everything. You know, what actually happens during this phase is this awareness of spirit. of that's actually housed in all of this terrestrial experience. And so it's a time to be a light for others, a lighthouse, to connect to, again, that solar energy, and to build consciousness around you and nourish others with your presence, your words, and actions. So, a big reflection for this time period is, how can I be a lighthouse? And this is something I personally wanted to share. This photo that I'm sharing is my grandparents, and they did a beautiful ceremony that has like forever altered my own personal experience here on earth. But they shared their whole life story, from, their reflections of childhood, what could have been done different, from, falling in love, from their lessons of matrimony, from being grandparents, like their whole thing. And we got to actually ask them a lot of questions on, what was their human experience like? What do they have to share for us? And I think, I'm just saying this as like I was around 14 at the time, and it was, again, for me, which is interesting. I was going through this transformative period, where, social awareness and social consciousness was being formed around me, and where, again, women's circles or wisdom talks, and being taught something divine from elders was such an imprint in my life. And that I'm just sharing this as like a very personal, what's it called? Like a very personal story, that this forever changed my life. And I think it's a testimony to what we can actually create for ourselves, for our community, for our families, for future generations, if we begin to kind of understand these phases and how it affects us, but also how it affects others as well. And so I know that this was a lot to take in, but remember, like I'm saying, this is all a blueprint for us to understand that we do need rituals in our life. We need to set a compass in our spiritual growth. We're spiritual beings. Again, I'll say this so many times, we're spiritual beings living an earthly experience. So I invite you to do is to reflect on the transformational period you're in right now, and intuitively imagine what your ritual looks like and what you're being called to initiate into this next phase. Does this ritual need people or community, or is it a ritual that you do alone? What element do you want to use or commune with? Is it earth? Is it fire? Is it air? Is it water? And how will it actually help you walk in better alignment and initiate what you want into this next period of your life? Also, just to mention that, we're currently in winter time, or in the northern hemisphere specifically. This is where seeds are still being planted. I know that, the Gregorian calendrical cycle says that it's the new year, and it's new year, new us, or whatever. But actually, we're still in this hibernation phase of our life. We're still in this like very deep reflective state naturally. And we're not energetically, we don't celebrate, or we're not going to feel anything new until March, until like the spring equinox. And so this is still such a perfect time to initiate, to to live in this like liminality of these two phases of our seasons as well. And so this is the perfect time to actually ritualize small little habits that actually will turn into the subconscious patterns that we want in our life as well. And so how we speak to ourselves, how we speak to others, how we're journaling, how, if we're curious about something, now is the time to start and actually plant these seeds. Because, I think habits start it's like 20 days to start a habit, 40 days to solidify it. And then I think it's like 63 days to really just have it within our own like somatic memory. But I think 63 days will be in the spring equinox. And so also if you really want to start something or initiate something, this is the perfect time to do it. We're just flowing through a new moon, or sorry, a full moon. So we can also plant seeds, shed, cut our hair. This is a really beautiful time to really reflect and shed. The new moon is coming up in a couple of, like, next week, I believe, on like the next weekend. So also a really beautiful time to journal, to ritualize, to create a ceremony with loved ones, to plant seeds as well. And so, yeah, this is all an invitation to do it all, and we can walk with it together. Bob, I am 76 years old and continuously looking for ways to gently spread my wisdom and experience to others while still learning new ways to evolve. Oh, Bob, I love that. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We need this so much right now from our elders, because if we think about it, you guys have passed through so much experience, so much, like, everything, hardship, love, failure, wisdom, success, and to transmit that to the people who are going through all of these phases for the first time. I think that's such a beautiful thing to be of service to. So thank you, Bob, for continuously looking for that. Just as a recommendation, it's always beautiful to write letters. I still have a lot of the letters that my grandparents have what's it called, shared with me and written to me. And it's interesting because I recently got one from my grandmother, or not got one, but like took it out and read it, and it was about right before she met my grandfather and right before she was married, and that's the phase that I'm in. And so it's this connection that we can really create within 2 generations, that you have experienced it and we're living it now. So it does help. So thank you. So now we're going to go into a meditation to wrap up, and an integration. I don't want to take too much of our time here, but what if we do a quick 2-minute break, come back, reset a little bit. If you're working with a plant ally or a candle or something, you can light it now, or sacred smoke as well, to kind of put you into this meditative state. If you also are not called to do a meditation just this minute, just know that this will be recorded and I will share it with you all in an email. But just so you all know that if you're interested at all in any of this, we're actually doing a 5-week immersion specifically on rites of passages, on our natural rites of passages. So if you've been inspired to dive deeper into, this initiation, this liminal space, impermanence, death, of our own, like the little deaths that we have in our in our experiences, and how that transmutes and how it transforms and evolves into growth, we are doing a 5-week immersion. It's 2 calls per week. It begins February 18th, and yeah, we're gonna be walking in community with all of this changes and beauty and grief and the whole thing. So if you need a little bit more support and really want to integrate this into like life lessons, this is a great opportunity, and I'd be very humbled and honored to have all of you there. But yeah, we can take 2 minutes if there's no questions or comments at all. So that way we can really, I know this was like a lot of academic and it's very cerebral in a lot of ways, but we're going to bring it down into the heart space and the heart center, and then we'll have a little bit of time to open up for all of us to share our experiences, our reflections, what any of this brought on to us as well. So yeah, there's an invitation afterwards to sharing community. So let's take 2 minutes, and I'll see you at 10:11:02. Just a quick 2 minutes. Polly, I'm so sorry. Happy birthday. Yes, I would, let me know, and I can for sure help Polly with anything, with guidance. But happy birthday, or happy you're here. So let's be back 2 minutes. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back. Desiree, that's a beautiful fire you have going on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that the recording gets this. I invite you to just take a moment to get in a comfortable position, one where you can fully relax. You can shut your screen off if you'd like. Light a candle or sacred smoke. Anything to open up your senses. So we're going to take one nice deep breath in through the nose. Fill up completely. Take a pause at the top. Just 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale out the mouth. And do 3 cleansing breaths at your own pace. There's no need to rush. Just feeling how this sacred air flows through your body, nourishes you, cleanses you. With your 2 hands, create friction. Until they're warm enough and that you feel a little bit of a magnetic energy in between your 2 hands. And when you feel ready, place them over your heart. Take a moment here and feel your heartbeat. I invite you to ask your sacred self, what of you needs to be initiated? What does that look like for you? Who are you becoming? What are their values? What do they speak of? How do they act? When you are ready, place your hands in a comfortable position and gently relax your breathing. Drop your shoulders, relax your face, and fully let go. And as you slowly inhale, feel as if you were to become lighter and lighter and lighter. And float up and up and up. Feel the lightness of your body as it floats into a darkness. In this darkness, stairs appear in your path. These spiraling stairs, follow them down, down, down. There is a fire burning red and orange as you keep walking down these stairs. And as you approach, you see all of us in a circle. You have entered the womb of the earth, a Temazcal. You are warm and you are safe. Fully arrive here in this sacred fire. have called to be initiated is sitting right in front of you. The person, this beautiful being that you are becoming, is sitting right in front of you. Meet them as they are, as they meet you as you are. Take their hand and together place hands over the flames of the fire in the temazcal. Warm them up and place them over your heart. Feel that red fire within you start to light up and expand out and out and out. This light, how far can it go? This heart that radiates so much, let it light up the whole room and expand. When you are ready, start to come out of the temazcal. Crawl out from this womb, this portal of rebirth. And imagine yourself starting to shed this old layer of skin. As if you were a tree that was shedding its leaves. The last leaves of winter. And feel yourself refreshed. into this new energy that you have created for yourself in your own metamorphosis. Feel lighter. As you start taking your first steps. And feel yourself walking back to where your body is. And enter your body through your stomach. Allowing this new light to come in. Igniting your creativity. Your intuition. And when you're ready, you can come back completely. You can start to wiggle your toes and your fingers. And take a nice breath in into this new body to be reborn again. And only when you're ready, there is no rush, at your own pace. You can open your eyes. And fully come back. If you're still deep in meditation, take your time. We can take about 2 minutes or so to really come back. You can do butterfly taps to feel our body once more, or massaging the throat, or even tapping even the third eye or the temples. But whenever we are ready, we can share our screen. And come back to our circle for today. If any of you is ready to share or wants to share something that came from this experience from our circle today, you're more than welcome to, either in the chat or through unmuting yourself.
I would like to share that the meaning of seven was really powerful for me, because I noticed seven has been a common thing in my life. Like I ended a 14-year relationship, and that was 7 and 7. And then I struggled to find full-time work for 7 years. And now I've been at my current position for 7 years, and I feel like it's time for a transition. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you that it really resonated with me. And I'm like, okay, this is what's supposed to happen.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, 7 is a very powerful number for life transitions as well. Yeah, of course. I'm actually, my friend Samantha, who's an astrologer in our cohort, she's actually going to talk about the power of 7 within our cycles with a lot more depth. But yes, it is interesting that for some reason that time frame has a, like a cyclical change that naturally happens. So thank you, Erica, for bringing that into our circle today. I think that's important to take note of as well. Anyone else? How are we feeling?
Hi. How is everyone? I have to run very shortly, but I wanted to share. You asked how we were feeling, and I believe that some of the things that were coming through are very refreshing, very revealing, but refilling. Those were two words that just mixed together. I had a word that was just sticking out over and over again. And the more you mentioned warmth and glow, comfort and safety, that just kept resonating with every aspect in the meditation, as well as through the discussion. This feeling of comfort in every stage, because there's always going to be the uncomfortable, even in these warm, comfortable gatherings, such as our meditations. And so I just felt renewed is a great word to say, refreshed, because these new beginnings have a childlike joy to them, but you bring that wisdom to it. And so without saying all that word, I was trying to find a one, but I just childlike joy with that wisdom. I don't really know a word for that, But I do love finding that even in the pain and that good and bad pain, I just mean the growth, learning when to let go and what to hold to, all of that. Even if we're a child picking out our favorite toys, all the way through our chefs picking out our ingredients on a budget, does not matter what our life is like. These trials and errors are everywhere. But what childlike joy we bring to that through those wisdoms is kind of what I was bringing in. And I just really appreciate that. So I wanted to share that. And I hate to have to um, run off so soon after sharing because I want to hear and share more, but I just wanted to say thank you as well. And I really wanted to share thank you for yours as well. Mine, I'm here as a reflection of this. This collective is very real. I don't get a lot of adults to talk to, and I'm okay saying that. Real connections. And to me, this was beautiful. And I felt like those who needed to hear this would take it, and those who did not would leave it. So thank you for this childlike joy that I got to have, and then sharing your wisdoms as such, because I had a good old cry. It was good. The fire went out right when your meditation stopped, too. So it was wonderful. I was like, hello. So, yeah. I look forward to your emails, and I will definitely get back to you. I thank you for this opportunity. I hope everyone here has a beautiful day, week, cycle, whatever you need to hear.
Oh my God, thank you, Desiree.
I know I've been over here bawling. Thank y'all so much for this love. I'm serious. Thank you. I'm definitely excited for looking into more. I found you last July. This is it's not a coincidence. I found you again. So I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I hope to see you sooner. So thank y'all for everything.
Your medicine and what you brought to this circle of collective transformation as well. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I'll see y'all later.
Bye. For the last 3 people, I don't want to take too much of your time. We're 3 minutes over what this experience was supposed to be. But if anyone else wants to share, you can, or if we feel complete, we can just put a thumbs up and we can close. Denise, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Tiara. Lovely to see you again. It brings like so much joy to like my heart and my being.
I'm so happy to be here with you. I was like, well, I only got like 10 minutes, but I'm getting on there. And I was having a hard time settling, but even on my I'm so glad Desiree brought up even the discomfort when you're somewhere warm. And so I'm so grateful to have you as a guide to get us through going into the womb of Mother Earth and then also coming back to ourselves. And even just showing up as I am, I could still get the medicine that I need right here, right now with you and in the container that you hold.
Thank you for your words. It brings like so much like tears, like happy tears. Yeah, I've missed all of you, you know, in a lot of ways. Oh, for those of you who, or Eric, I don't, Nisa, we had like a reimagining death cohort, and Tara was one of the people who joined us for the 5-week just journey into that conversation, into that feeling, into that space. But yeah, blessed to be here with you all. I'm not going to take too much of your time anymore, but we're going to close. For those of you who are watching for a recording in another time and space, thank you for also being here and sharing space with us. And yeah, for everyone who participated and was present and held us and walked us into this transition, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to close our eyes and just take in a deep breath once more, allowing gratitude to fill us completely in our body, in our heart space, in our minds, and what we speak of for the rest of this day and the week that follows. Giving gratitude to each and every one of us that is going through transitions in the impermanence, in the liminal spaces, in the deaths and rebirths that we all share collectively and individually. And with gratitude, we can open our eyes and close. Thank you all so much for this beautiful morning, this beautiful time that we shared. I hope to see you all so soon. And you are all teachers of mine. And so thank you for being here and holding me in your wisdom as well. Thank you. So much love to you. Bye. Have a beautiful day.